everyone, I am Jay and this is the Camden Stitch. Thank you for joining me today. Before we start, I thought you might want to say hello to Betsy, but if I allow you to say hello to her, you've got to promise to overlook all the chaos that's happening behind her. Beep, 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 beep. Hello, Betsy. Hello, Bets. Come on. There we go. Say hello. There you go. That's how interested she is in vlogging. So I'm gonna start by telling you what I'm wearing, which you can't see very well in this on this view, so I'll just sit up a bit. It's a jumpsuit and it is, in fact, that's rubbish. I shall pop in the pictures of me in wearing it in the picture. Right. So the jumpsuit that I'm wearing today is, I finished it yesterday and I'm really pleased with it. It's New Look 1355 and it looks a bit unappealing on the cover, which a lot of the big four ones do, don't they? But this one looks, I thought, particularly crap. But I was after like a sleeveless sort of v-neck jumpsuit, and I made a few mods to it. I lowered the neckline a bit and I made the legs really flary instead of, they were kind of neither one thing nor the other. They were, I suppose you'd call them a straight leg, which, you know, they weren't pegged. They were, and they weren't flared, so they're a bit nothing. So I made them flary. Basically, this was the toile, and it came up really big, and so I chopped 2 centimetres out of each side, which then made it too small. So that was my own stupid fault. So it's a little bit tight on the bust, especially like today when you've got a jumper on underneath. But it's perfectly comfortable, and for a toile it's absolutely fine. So I'm really pleased with it. It's got an elasticated waist, but I hate feeling gripped around the waist, so I always make them sort of fairly loose. And these nice big floaty legs, and I made it out of this cotton that I got from the £1 a metre shop in Walthamstow, and I bought it before I'd actually started sewing, or when I was just learning to sew, and I didn't know how much you needed for things, so I bought 5 metres, and now I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with all this fabric? Because it's all right, but I bought it because I thought it reminded me of like bark cloth, you know, like vintage curtains, but I don't want everything made in it. So anyway, if anybody wants 3 metres of green vintage looking fabric, come over to me. I've made the mods, sewed it up, and I really like it, and I've got plans to make 4 more. They're all waiting to be cut out so I can just whiz them off, because one of the things that was my main goal when I started sewing was to make nicer clothes to wear in the house, to actually motivate me to get clean and get out my pyjamas and get in the shower and get dressed, instead of just putting clean pyjamas back on again and just slobbing around all the time, and you know, then feeling a bit awkward when the postman comes because you're not dressed. But if you haven't got comfy clothes to put on, it's a real sort of demotivator to get dressed, isn't it? So when I've got some nice house jumpsuits, I'm going to be super pleased with that. So that's what I'm wearing today. So the theme of today's video is triumphs and disasters, sewing triumphs and disasters, and that is because at the weekend I did a massive sewing fail, and I'm not like upset about it or anything, because the way I see it is, you know, it's all a lesson. But it was a bit annoying because obviously you've got hopes for a project and then it doesn't work out. So my sewing fail is on the mannequin here. So I just moved the camera a bit so that you can see the legs of this. So it's got this sort of frilled bottom. So this pattern is McCalls 7577, I think. So I'm going to show you this in a bit more detail. So it has a faux wrapped bodice with this part was supposed to be pleated, but I actually gathered it. I don't know if you can see the gathers there. And a fluted sleeve which I do like very much. I think it's really pretty. I must just mention the kind of my muse for this was Abby from the Crafty Pinup, because she's made quite a few dresses and jumpsuits in this style, and she always looks so gorgeous, and they look so sort of light and comfy for summer. And I'd got this jersey, which I think I got from Fabworks last year, and I really like it. And so I decided to make the 7577 into a sort of play suit, and it just looks bloody awful on me, friends, honestly. So the bottom here, it's got this really pretty sort of angled V, which you gather the ruffle and put it on. So I didn't join the bodice and the shorts together because I tried it on after I'd made the shorts, and it does nothing for me. It looks absolutely awful on me. I've got a small waist. My waist usually comes up as a size 10, but my bum and hips are quite big, so like a 14 to 16. In fact, I even buy knickers that are size 16 to 18 because I like them to be really big and comfy and not kind of digging into my fleshy bits. So that's my sizes. I'm a real pear shape. And when I put this on, I mean, I probably could have anticipated it, but it's more actually over my tummy. I haven't got much of a tummy, but this kind of emphasises what I've got. I don't like it. I don't like it. It looks awful. If anybody wants it off me, you can pay £2.30 postage, and I will happily send it you, and you can sew it together and it'll look fabulous on somebody else. It's not a bad garment, it's not badly sewn, it's really nice fabric, although I could have done better with the pattern matching there, but I didn't have very much fabric, and I was, you know, there was absolutely no choice in how I did the layout. I was just trying to make the best of every tiny little last bit. But yeah, I love the fabric, and like I said, it's not badly sewn or anything. It might look great on somebody else, but for me, no, it's a bit of a fail, I'm afraid. But on a brighter note, there is a sewing, I have a sewing triumph, so I shall bring it you. Hey, here is my sewing triumph. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this dress already. I posted it quite a few times. I finished it earlier this year, and I entered it into the Sew Your Style competition, and I'd done 2nd place. So I entered it in a category called Sew the 60s, and I was already making it when I read about the competition and I saw the category. And although the pattern is actually from 1972 or 73, I think, it didn't have to be a pattern from, I mean, it could have been a modern pattern. The point was to have a sort of 60s style. And I'd already made up my mind to do it in this cream ponte, which is from the Textile Centre, and use this trim on it, which is from it's from Walthamstow Market. I already knew it was going to be like a 60s type silhouette and style, so I decided to enter it. And I've been really poorly from sort of mid-January with something which seems to be, the doctors think it's folate anemia, so it's basically like low folic acid levels, but it was affecting my breathing. I was really lightheaded, I was really tired, I was sleeping all the time, and I'd got terrible headaches and just horrible symptoms. And because I'd entered this, I kind of had to finish it. And I remember the last few days that I was sewing it was like walking through treacle, and it was quite difficult to sew because of this yoke. Put down my certificate. Yeah, because of this yoke, it was difficult to match up with the gathering and get these corners correct. And the yoke is lined, and it all finished up being quite bunchy and quite thick for the machine to sew. So to try and get it neat was a nightmare, and because I knew it was actually, it would have been fine for me to wear, the standard that I was sewing it to, but because I knew it was actually going to get judged by somebody, I was trying to get it so perfect. Anyway, so I entered it and I came second, and I'm really pleased. I couldn't go to Birmingham to pick up my certificate because I was too poorly, but somebody else modelled it for me on the catwalk, and I was just really pleased because I've been sewing It'll be a year in May, so nearly a year. So when I entered that, probably about 9 months, and so to have won something is really, really pleasing. You know, when, like a lot of people who sew, it means so much to me. You know, it's become such an important thing in my life. It's not just a hobby, it's a way of life. And so to get recognition for that is super, super special. And on that note, I have actually been shortlisted as a finalist for the Dressmaker of the Year competition, not for the main prize, but for the one of the categories, which is occasion wear. And I shall pop in photographs now of the jumpsuit that I made that has been shortlisted, and I have absolutely no hope whatsoever of winning that, because I made that jumpsuit when I'd been sewing about 4 months, and it's made of t-shirt material. It's sewn really badly, it's finished really badly. You know, if you look inside that, it's not one of my finest hours, but it's got some really nice details on it. It's actually in one of my earlier sew and tells. I made like a puffed tulip sleeve, and it's the first kind of ever like pattern modification that I've ever done. So it's got some really nice details, and I think artistically or creatively it's quite a nice garment, but in terms of technical sewing, it's not. But it's absolutely lovely, so nice to have been shortlisted to it. For it, so I'm a very happy bunny. So those are my sewing triumphs and disasters. If you'd like to tell me in the comments what are yours, like what have been your biggest cock-ups or most disappointing disasters, or things that you've finished perfectly and then managed to catch in the overlocker at the 11th hour, which I've done. In fact, I did it with these have got a hole in the bum that I had to mend using like a darning-y patchworky stitch, but I got mega lucky with this fabric because you can't see it at all. Even Ian, like my best mate who I live with, who is so meticulous about things like that, and always tells me, it's quite annoying really, he always tells me if anything's even slightly wrong, if your top stitch is like a millimetre out, even he agrees you can't see it. But anyway, yes, so if you've massively sort of cocked anything up sewing wise, let me know below so that we can all support each other and laugh at each other, and tell me your proudest moment as well, your sewing triumphs, like mine. So it's been great to see you today. Hopefully I'll be online a little bit more now. I've got lots of plans for nice videos. It's been lovely to see you, and I shall be online again soon.